Hello, and welcome to our show, Crooked Doctors.
Crooked Doctors, folks.
Today is Friday, November 1st,
Yes,
2013.
Yes, it is.
And I want to do a brief introduction. We have a very special guest who has to, you want to say hello, Lorenzo Richardson?
Sure. Hello, everyone.
We're going to put up your photo. Let me do a brief introduction. Give me about a minute, and then we'll get into our show. One of the criticisms or some of the feedback that I was given was that I should do every week like a 3-minute bird's eye view or overview of Crooked Doctors to see the organizing principles. Right. So I'm going to do that after Lorenzo Richardson gets off the phone because he's got to make a fundraiser at 6:30. So we're going to do. I'm going to do the organizing principles after Lorenzo leaves us.
Overview.
Overview. Right now, Lorenzo Richardson is a candidate in Jersey City, and I used to live in. Oh, we have Jayson?
Yeah, you put him on.
Yeah, put him on. We'll put his picture up later. We have Jayson Burg on the phone. Let's say hello to him.
Hi. How you doing, guys?
Hi, it's Jayson.
Hi, Jason.
Hi, Jayson. Jayson.
Hi, Lorenzo. Hi, Bill. Hi, Leah.
Lorenzo, would you like to say hello to Jayson Burg?
Yes. Hi, Jason. How are you? Good to see you. Good. Fantastic. Glad you're on the show.
All right.
Glad to have you.
All right. What we're going to give Lorenzo about 15 minutes. He's going to go to a fundraiser at 6:30. Lorenzo Richardson is a candidate in Jersey City for the Board of Education, and the election is this Tuesday. Thank you, Bill. This Tuesday, November 5th. We'd like everybody to come out and vote. And as it was explained to me, Lorenzo is running. Lorenzo, we have a video that we're going to show, but tell us in about 2 minutes why you're running.
Well, the reason why I'm running is because I've been an education activist for a number of years, well over a decade. And as of recent, ever since we had, for lack of a better term, a debacle with our superintendent search process, and basically the initiation of corporate takeover of our school districts, like some of the other cities, we're looking at trying to find people who are qualified, who are willing to stand up to these interests, who are basically trying to privatize and close our schools in Jersey City, and basically disenfranchise our children from a quality public education.
Now, Lorenzo, because I know we're under a little bit of time pressure because you got to get to your fundraiser at 6:30, I'm going to jump in here for a minute. We know each other because I've been speaking at Jersey City Council meetings. Jayson knows you. I know you. One of the things that got me very interested in giving and donating some of our time was because you brought up an issue, and I've got about a minute and a half, a little under a minute and a half, minute and 38 seconds, video that talks about when Steve Fulop was my city councilman, he had a secret meeting with the state education commissioner in Jersey City with 2 individuals who were not on the Board of Education but were running. And what Steve Fulop promised to us, that as a Marine, that he would be the law and order candidate, that he would be against the culture of corruption,
Transparency in government.
Thank you. And instead, his actions belie his public persona. So the reason I believe that you got involved also was because you're on board with me and Jayson and Bill. We want to bring, we're against the culture of corruption in Jersey City. And what really struck at our hearts was here's Steve Fulop. The real tragedy is Steve Fulop he could have been what his public relations campaign, what his propaganda campaign says he is, but he's not. So he had this secret meeting, this backdoor meeting.
It's a backroom deal.
Right, it's the shadow government, and you made a video, if you go on YouTube and you type in "No More Secrets" with Lorenzo Richardson, you're going to come to this 1 minute and 38-second video that speaks for itself. So we're going to show it, and then we're going to talk about it. Is that okay with you, Lorenzo?
Sure.
Okay, thanks, Lorenzo. So we just take a moment, go to the video, and let the you can take our stills off. So here we go.
Hi, I'm Lorenzo Richardson. You ever wonder why the Jersey City public schools are failing its children? Well, the answers are right over there in that house. On the evening of May 3rd, 2011, then Councilman Steve Fulop met on this lonely street with two individuals who are currently running for the Jersey City Board of Education in the November 5th, 2013 election, Ellen Simon and Carol Lester. And who was their guest for the evening? None other than Christopher Cerf, the head of education for the state of New Jersey. Now, according to the Hudson Reporter, Fulop asked Lester and Simon to keep the meeting in confidence, as always. Now, this begs to ask three questions. One, what do you think they may have discussed that night in this private residence? Two, what was it that Fulop, Lester, and Simon wanted to keep in confidence from parents, community members, and the members of the Board of Education? And question number three, what decisions did they make that night in this house about the future of education for Jersey City public school children? No more secrets. On November 5th, please vote for the Children First team, Lorenzo Richardson, Gerald Lyons, Gina Vertibello, and Angel Valentin for the Jersey City Board of Education. Put Jersey City's children first.
Okay. So Lorenzo, I said this to Bill before the show. We're nonpartisan, we're bipartisan. What we really care about is we've had it with the lies, the corruption, the propaganda, the crime. And the reason why we're supporting you is because you're asking these questions of Mr. Fulop, and what we share in common is the fraud and crimes. In my case, the what appears to be secret backroom doors that you're bringing to the fore.
Backroom deals. Yeah.
The backroom deals. So Jayson Burg stands up in front of the city council, and he talks about he's against the crime and corruption. So the reason why you're running is because you really believe that there should be transparency and
transparency in government.
Yeah, and this is what Mr. Fulop promised us, but did not deliver.
Good.
So the question you're asking is, why? And I went out into the street last week and talked to people, and the citizens of Jersey City are asking two questions: why isn't this front page news? And why is this going on for 2 years and it's not front page news? And secondly, how come they're having these secret meetings, Lorenzo, if Mr. Fulop didn't like, because this was basically a move to oust the superintendent of schools.
It was the Epps, Dr. Epps.
If why couldn't Steve Fulop go to a Board of Education meeting in front of everybody with the parents,
Yes.
with the press, in an open forum and say, I don't like the job Dr. Epps is doing. This is what I don't like. These are the people I would prefer. What do you guys think? What do you have to say to that, Lorenzo?
Well, I think that you're right on point, because a lot of what has happened is, as you said earlier, there was a lot of decisions made in the dark, out of the purview of the public. And, we have a problem with that, because usually when board members meet and they're discussing issues that regard the Board of Education, they are required by law to make sure that those meetings are public, unless it is an issue of personnel or a contract. Now, in this case, when you're talking about making a decision on an employee or the possibility of a new superintendent, the whole premise of the process was created by board members, but that was all a facade because all of the work that was done with the community meetings and the public hearings and the town halls, it was all thrown to the side. Even the search firm that did the work during the superintendent search was also a fraud. So we know for a fact that, they threw everything out the window and said, this is the person that we want, and completely bypassed the process.
And what's really of concern is you got City Councilman Steve Fulop pretending to be a Marine. And remember, the Marines do not lie, cheat, or steal. This is what he runs on, right? So you got Steve Fulop, who's the city councilman. He has a private meeting with two people who are not board members. They're just the two people. And he goes to some private house, and he brings the state education commissioner down, and they ran this past a federal prosecutor, and the federal prosecutor says, you know something? It doesn't pass the smell test. It sounds like they're making a secret backroom deal, and that something was brokered, and that's not what's supposed to be happening here.
That's right.
Okay, so, Steve Fulop on the one hand, in my case, says, this is the ridiculous feedback I get. Oh, I'm just a little city councilman. I can't do anything. I'm not a power broker. And yet, when he wants to put in...
He wants to put his people on the Board of Ed, which they are now.
Right. So when it's not Steve Fulop that we're looking at, it's the people who stand behind him that we're looking at. And so we've got Steve... And by the way, the Board of Education, I was surprised to discover... They've got the biggest budget in Hudson County. Is that correct,
right.
Lorenzo? It's like $680 million?
$661 million.
And that is the biggest budget in Hudson County?
Yes, that's correct.
So what you've got is City Councilman Steve Fulop doing this power play because he's looking down the road and he wants to be mayor and he's saying all the right stuff, but his actions belie his words. He's a fraud. Steve Fulop is full of it. Now, this is not the Bash Steve Fulop show.
Sure.
But the bottom line is you're a Marine. You keep telling people that, you're against the culture of corruption, you want truth, you want transparency, but everything you do, your actions belie your words. And it's of great concern to people like Lorenzo Richardson and all the parents of Jersey City. Would Steve Fulop have a private meeting with me and Bill? And, I don't know, a state official, maybe the state, a state official to deal with the crimes at Jersey City Medical Center? No. Would Steve Fulop have a private meeting, I don't know, with Jayson Burg, who's not an elected official, and somebody else, and maybe a state official to discuss, I don't know. Would he do it? No, he doesn't do any of that. So the whole thing does not pass the smell test. Right, Lorenzo?
I agree. It does not pass the smell test.
And that's why.
When Philip took his oath as a Marine, and I did too in 73 back in the day, you have a constitutional. You sign yourself. You pledge yourself to defend the Constitution against foreign and domestic enemies. And the Constitution is the backbone of this country. And without that Constitution, we don't have much power. But there is a lot happening that's in the background. That things that are going behind our backs will be moral turpitude will be rectified and taken through without the courts. Will be through the people.
So that was Jayson Burg. We're going to put his photo up soon. And he's talking about a citizens' initiative that he's working on to hold our city council and our mayor accountable. And what this is speaking to is moral turpitude. But Lorenzo, it's about 6:15, and I know you have a fundraiser, so I'm going to shut up for a while. And I'd like you to say whatever you'd like to say. If people want to go to YouTube or content, I think there's some more information that they can get. So go ahead, Lorenzo.
Well, I just wanted to say that I thank you for having me on. And, you know, the reason, again, while I'm running is not only to stop people like Carol Lester and Ellen Simon from, you know, trying to take over our school system and turn it over to corporate interests, but we're there also. Our Children's First team is also there to restore trust, transparency, and true commitment to the Jersey City school children and to the Board of Education in the city of Jersey City. So that is our goal, and that's why we're running.
So even though, you know, you may have friendly disagreements or even, you know, knockdown, drag-out disputes, you would promise to do this in an open fashion, so that everybody would get involved. You promise not to broker these backroom secret deals, yes?
Oh, absolutely not. Because first of all, you know, for a number of years, I've been advocating to make sure that the Board of Ed has done things under, you know, transparency, and we make sure that, you know, we tell them, because we go to all of these, that, you know, these meetings need to be open and they should not be closed meetings. And we also would like them to also deal with some of the issues when they go into closed session, because it's not always necessary. And the issues that need to be addressed that concern the community as well as the children and the district as a whole, as long as it's not something that is completely confidential, should be made public and should be also videotaped so people can be allowed to see it on video.
Good, because when you say it shouldn't be confidential, obviously if you're having a personnel issue, you know, and you're disciplining an employee, you know, that should be confidential. But when you know, when you've got Steve Fulop bringing down a state official and having a secret meeting, you know, with two people who are just private citizens, they're just candidates, and it appears that what you're doing is trying to engineer the ouster of a superintendent and put someone else that you like or that may owe you something in place. You know, this is the culture of corruption that Dan Levin, for example, says he's against.
Right. You scratch my back, I scratch yours, folks.
Yeah, we're done with the quid pro quo stuff. This is, you know, millions of dollars. The parents need to get involved. It's their children. And Steve Fulop ran on "I'm the law and order candidate." There's nothing here that speaks to that public relations campaign. So, Lorenzo, good luck, and we want everybody to vote on November 5th.
Okay, thank you so much, and thanks again for having me.
Now, Lorenzo, it's 6:17. Do you want to just say a few, parting word or two, and then go off to your fundraiser?
Yeah, well, I just wanted to say, you know, again, thank you for having us on the show, and, you know, we look forward to seeing everyone out there on November the 5th to vote. It's a very important election. It's the same day as the governor's election here in Jersey City, and we want to make sure that we elect a governor that cares about education, and we want to make sure that we elect board members who care about education. And I hope that, you know, your listeners can take a look at our website, our Facebook page, and see what our views are. And I'm pretty sure that they'll know that, you know, we are the candidates that are in line with what the district needs.
Okay, so what we really want to do is have the voters educate themselves and make an informed decision.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And that's why this No More Secrets video is important. And they can also look up a lot of information on the Jersey Journal. I got a few articles here that Bill pulled. So let you go, Lorenzo. Thank you so much.
Okay, and remember, November 5th, please vote for children's education and to put children first and against privatization and school closures. Thank you.
You're welcome. Can we go to the still with Jayson Burg? Jayson, are you still there?
I'm still here. I'm hanging in.
Your turn, Jace.
Good. Now, Jayson,
Right.
we got your photograph, Jayson Burg, on the phone,
Right.
and I understand that what you're doing is you're organizing a citizens. We don't want to give away the story here,
Right.
but you're organizing up a citizens group,
Right.
and for where you're taking back your government, and you've got the Constitution, law, a national group that's going to start weighing in, And you can have elected officials in Jersey City, like Mayor Steve Fulop and the City Council, removed from office for moral turpitude.
Sure.
You can indict them. So I understand. So how's that coming? How's that citizens initiative coming?
It's working out. We're working with our members around the state, and we are progressing as fast as we can. We can't go too fast because we don't want to fall off the track. And so, like, on Saturdays, we're now having our weekly meeting to see how we're doing, and we're giving each other pep talks. Because, again, when you're out there trying to do something that no one can think about or want to do, you're a lone wolf or a lone candidate out there trying to change our society. We have more power than we know, but, again, as long as we live in ignorance, fear, and don't think for ourselves, the machine, the institutions win. That's the educational systems, the political systems, and even our religious institutions keep us ignorant in those aspects of wanting to be a turned-on citizen. And I'm not against any authority.
Okay,
I'm
so we're against
use of authority.
Yeah, this is a Jayson Burg.
Yeah, this is Jayson.
We should have T-shirts printed up. We're
right.
not against authority. We're against the abuse of authority.
Absolutely.
That's a Jayson Burgism. Jason, the Bill pulled some articles here, and can you get a close-up of this?
Jersey Journal, folks.
Oh, yeah, let's get a close-up of this.
Zoom it in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I should actually call the Jersey Journal and Ron Zeitlinger.
Ron
Hi,
Zeitlinger.
Ron Zeitlinger.
Hi, Ron.
Fulop to speak. No, keep going.
Keep
Zip
going.
in on this Fulop
This is so
article.
good.
Whoops, sorry. This.
It's on the bottom, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
Why is he going to sit there?
Okay, so
Unfolded or what?
yeah, this is so Steve Fulop. Mayor Steve Fulop is a Marine, and he likes to talk, and he likes to use that as his public persona. And he's speaking. Well, you know something? I need to make a phone call to the Marines because
In Philadelphia.
what the Marines don't know is that Steve Fulop has been helping Jersey City Medical Center commit fraud and Medicaid fraud and fraud against me and crimes against me. Can you come in a little tighter?
Yeah.
So for a Marine who promised not to lie, cheat, or steal, he's been lying, cheating, and stealing in my case because it's fraud, and more fraud.
Okay.
And the tragedy here, Mr. Marine, Mr. Steve Fulop, is that you could have been.
Could have been a good guy, Steve.
But you chose to
Could
be
have been a better guy.
Pardon me?
He could have been a better man.
A better man.
No, he could.
Yeah.
He could. He. The tragedy here is not so much how my life was destroyed,
He chose the wrong road.
but he had an opportunity. In my
There
case,
you go.
to do the right thing. He had an opportunity with the Board of Ed to do the right thing,
And he blew it.
and he consistently blows it because he's a fraud. Now you can come back to us.
All right.
Now. He can be removed from office, and so can the city council for moral turpitude. Now, I can show fraud at Jersey City Medical Center, and moral turpitude is, once you show fraud, you already have moral turpitude, because in order to commit fraud, an element of fraud is moral turpitude.
Sure.
There's something else, too, because we've touched on Pauline Roman's case, and I want to say this very quickly, and then I'll get to the organizing principle.
Sure.
But Jayson, this is why
Yes.
Jason's group and the national group that's supporting you and trying to get you to take off in Jersey City, it's not just about talk. You can actually seize power and indict people for crimes. In Pauline Roman's case, and I discussed this with her, and I think she's going to be making a presentation to the Jersey City Council this Wednesday. We've been trying to help Pauline because a lot of the issues in my case in Jersey City with my persecution from my medical school started to come out in my landlord-tenant case. So Pauline also is part of a culture of corruption where her landlord has been allowing her building to decay and having her building, the deterioration of her building is actually turning that building into a weapon.
Breakthrough, because recently we had a health department inspector, and there was a report. They got lead.
Thank you, Bill. They got lead in Pauline, like high levels of lead. So that in the mold.
You got to pay for a motel.
That in the mold in Pauline Roman's apartment.
Sure.
We got the reports from the Jersey
City Health Department.
Right. So there's high level.
Stacy Flanagan.
There's high levels of lead.
That's right.
And there's mold.
There you
Now, very quickly.
Sure. Go ahead.
Pauline went into court. This is the culture of corruption that we're uniting against.
I
The
get
culture of corruption in Jersey City that almost murdered me.
Yeah.
We go into court, and she's telling Judge Mary Beth Rogers. Judge Mary Beth Rogers is saying, Ms. Robin, I told you that if you tried to stop the mold cleanup, that you would lose your defense.
Sure.
Okay. And Pauline Roman is trying to speak up to the judge, and she's saying, I didn't stop the mold cleanup. 2 police officers were willing to come forward and tell the truth. Okay. And she had another witness. And in the transcript that you look at, she says to the judge, Your Honor, I have a witness in the courtroom who wants to who's willing to testify.
That's right.
Can I call my witness? And then Judge Mary Beth Rogers says no. Okay, so
That's beautiful.
that's horrible. So you're going to take issue. That judge can be held accountable for what she's done.
I see.
But the issue now is there's mold and there's lead. So the Jersey City Health Department has no choice here, and this is why we're encouraging Pauline Roman, go in front of the city council and you tell them, I don't want to hear about the corruption of the courts. I don't want to hear about every single dirty trick that the lawyers play.
Sure.
The bottom line is the Jersey City Health Department has a choice. You either clean up the mold, you clean up the lead, or you start to find the landlord. That's it. And if you don't...
Well, let's add one more thing, is that everyone in that department can be actually fired for the lack of doing their job, because they're there to provide a public service, not a public nuisance.
Thank you, Mr. Burg. So, the landlord has a choice now. They don't want to do this. They're trying to weasel out. The city health department, and this is the city health department, this is the city council, and Mr. Mayor, okay? So Mr. Mayor can make a phone call to his city health department, and every single member of the city council can make a phone call to their health department, and this is the law. You either get the landlord to immediately, like in the next week, clean up the mold, clean up the lead, which means you have to paint and
He has to remediate.
Exactly. This is not, we're going to court and we're going to get jerked around by more stupidity and false court records and corrupt judges and, all kinds of shenanigans and the lying attorneys and all this other nonsense. No. Mr. Mayor, Mr. Marine, where's my thing? Mr. Marine, okay? Mr. Marine can make Mr. Mayor, who sold himself on being the law and order candidate, these are high levels of lead, okay? Pauline Roman has 2 7-year-old daughters, okay? This is reckless endangerment of children. So Pauline Roman, you, me, and Jayson, you're coming to the city council meeting on Wednesday?
Most certainly. I have a lot of things to explain, especially Daniel Rivera.
Okay, let's not wander off here. The bottom line is, in the Pauline Roman case, and this is it, okay? Every single member of the city council and Mr. Fulop and their deputy mayors and the entire administration, you make a single phone call to the Jersey City Health Department.
Yes.
And you say, the landlord immediately cleans up the mold, which is black mold. They've already done the inspection, and you immediately clean up the lead.
Yeah.
So that means you're going to have to move the people out of the building, put them in a hotel. I don't care.
Sure.
But it has to be painted
Landlord dispense.
Right, and yet it has to be, this is the landlord's building. It's his investment. You either do that or you start fining the landlord. And they are trying to weasel out any way they can. So if they don't do this, they have demonstrated irrefutably moral turpitude. They are putting the lives of citizens at risk. They know they're doing it. It's been going on for years. You either do it now or you're all going to be removed from office because you are demonstrating moral turpitude. You do not make up excuses about why the landlord can't fix the problem now.
Oh, wait a minute. This is an immense breakthrough. This is landmark because for some time Pauline has been up against a brick wall, but now this is a breakthrough.
Okay, so that she can have results immediately.
Absolutely.
I don't want to hear about the state. The state always says it's the city. So Mr. Steve Fulop who promised us to be the law and order candidate, the Marine. He certainly uses it for all the PR he can get, but when it comes to do the hard work, he doesn't.
The buck stops here, Mayor Fulop.
There you go. So Jayson, if
Yes.
go ahead.
Well, I had an opportunity on another spot. I had another opportunity to meet with the housing director of the Jersey City Housing Code last Tuesday, and I gave him a call. I gave him a call twice. He didn't give me a call back at this week, so I'm hoping for next week. But the real thing I went and asked him on my call, please check out what's been going on with the Pauline Roman affair for the last 7 years. And that was my point with that. And then I keep on hearing, oh, it's her fault. She's creating the problem. Again, always blame the victim for the incompetence of the establishment. And remember, the purpose of government is to serve we the people. It's not we the people deserve to be serving them. No, they are there by our offices, our legality to do a better job. And they close down of Congress.
Okay.
What do we need Congress for?
Excellent. So
Just throw down the garbage
before you wander afield, okay? We've heard it all. It's blame the victim, blame the victim, blame the victim, okay? Pauline didn't stop the mold cleanup. We don't want to hear about the 7 years. It's not incompetence. It's deliberate indifference. It's a malicious indifference to it's deliberate indifference to human life. Okay, so we're going to hold the city council and Mayor Fulop's feet to the fire. Okay, you either clean up the mold, you clean up the lead, or you fine the landlord. That's it. And if you don't, then you'll all be removed from office. Okay,
right.
So and Jayson can seize the moment with his citizens group. I will march into federal. We will march into court. We will do and say whatever we have to do and say, and we know what to do. Now, the important point here is, in my case, Steve Fulop. I told Steve Fulop. Remember, the point of this show is Crooked Doctors,
Sure.
right? So it's not to wander off. These are the Crooked Doctors at Jersey City Medical Center.
Right.
And the feedback that I got from some of the programming people here at M&N, and it was good constructive feedback, is to give us a bird's eye view to orient us. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the bird's eye view. Yeah. Now, in my case, there was fraud at Jersey City Medical Center. There is fraud at Jersey City Medical. Sure. The Jersey City Medical, Dr. Vladimir Jelnov, Dr. Michael S. Stewart, Dr. LaMonica, Stacy Dix-Kubiowski, Judge Nestle Rodriguez, Judge Nino Falcone from North Bergen. Okay, these people are dangerous to others. And in my case, I discussed in detail with Mr. Fulop, this is the fraud, this is what's going on, this is how it relates to my medical school, okay? He could have made a phone call or two and stopped it. He didn't. So because I have fraud in my case, fraud has in it the element of moral turpitude. These people can be removed.
That's let me interject.
Pardon me?
Well, at another meeting at City Council, the corporate council was told the people of the council that they could not call the judge on this issue of Pauline Roma.
We don't want them to call the judge. Call the city health department. It's their job. I don't care what stupid.
But no, I'm not talking about this. I'm not talking about the city inspectors. I'm just talking about the Pauline Roman affair and her trial. How the corporate council turned around and said, "Oh, you can't talk to a judge." Excuse me. You can talk to anyone.
Well, but that's not the point. They're
freedom of
trying to
speech.
But that's not the point. They're trying to misconstrue. They're trying to, pretend that there's this legal system, and they can't interfere.
The legal system is so corrupt. There's checks and balances. The federal is supposed to look at the state, and the state's supposed to look at the federal. But everyone's got someone else's privates in someone else. And that's really screwing us up.
I'd like to thank you for bringing that up, Jayson, because the nonsense, the fiction, the misconstruing that corporate counsel brought up was, oh, you can't interfere in the judicial process, blah blah. That's not the issue. The issue is we don't need the court. The court is corrupt.
Right.
Judge Mary Beth Rogers intentionally created a false court record.
That's
okay,
right.
and she refused to allow Pauline Roman to present her witnesses. But we don't want to get caught up in the details here. It doesn't matter how corrupt the court was.
That's
We work around the corrupt courts.
Absolutely.
And one way to work around
We are doing a fantastic job.
and one way
We are doing it.
And one way to work around the corrupt courts, Pauline Roman is going forward with an appeal. She is holding that judge accountable. She is taking on the corrupt government. We are going to support her. You have a way of indicting these judges, and you're going to go forward with that, so that's another approach. But right now, forget about all that corruption. Right now, the city health department is not dependent on anything.
That's
They
right.
can march into, they can go forward and they can say, we're finding the landlord, or the landlord can clean up the mold
There
and
you
clean up the lead. That's it. They refuse to do that because they are letting the landlord and his corrupt, dishonest attorney weasel out.
Absolutely.
Okay? So, and they're pulling every dirty trick in the book. False criminal charges, all this nonsense, which we'll get to later. Because there's only about 20 minutes left in the show, what I want to do right now is just get the organizing principle.
There you go.
So before we get lost in this, the reason why this is the Crooked Doctors show is because we got the Crooked Doctors at Jersey City. Now, the Crooked Doctors at Jersey City, and you know, with Pauline Roman, I can march into federal court because you got the city that's doing wrong,
That's
and
right.
I can ask the federal prosecutors and the federal court system to force the city to do this. And if the systems that are set in place are so corrupt and don't work, then Jayson, we the people can take back our government.
Yeah,
okay, we the people can take back our government. This is the revolution, and we can indict these judges. That's what's happening now. Okay.
I know what's so great about this new revolution. It's not a revolution of weapons. It's a revolution of the Constitution and using what our forefathers gave us, because they knew that in the future our government would go haywire, and they needed the people, like the Declaration of Independence, has the power to declare itself independent of the corruption that is being perpetrated.
Well, Jayson, what you're pointing out here is that this is not new. The founders of our
Founding fathers.
the founders of our country,
Yeah.
who happen to be women too. Even though they're
yeah.
called the founding fathers, there were plenty of women around too.
well,
Okay, the men and women who established our country,
Yeah.
right? They had judges who were corrupt. In fact, they couldn't, because they set up a constitution where the people could indict the people could indict. So we're not inventing anything new. We're doing what our founding, what the founding members of our country left for us. Where this is not taught anymore because they don't. This is the first time in history.
Well, one last thing is the reason I said founding fathers because the Philadelphia Convention were 55 men.
Okay.
But I didn't mean to in the inference, but that's a
we know you're a wonderful guy.
historical fact. That's all.
The bottom line is we're not inventing anything new. This is not taught anymore. It's not taught anymore because we've become a nation of sheep, and that's why.
That's right.
But this is what the men and women who established our country left for us. In fact, during this time, it was difficult, if not impossible, to put any of these people in jail. So they would ship them to England. Remember, our country was made as a response to the abuses of authority of the monarchy.
Yes.
And they knew the judges were under the thumb of the monarchy.
Good.
And they knew the judges were corrupt. So they set up a system where the people could indict.
There you go.
And the people could indict crooked judges.
That's right.
So we're not reinventing the wheel here. Jayson, I'm going to ask for your indulgence because the Crooked Doctors, the fraud at Jersey City Medical Center, is related to the Crooked Doctors at my medical school. And because you and I and all of us are speaking out, we created an environment where Yeshiva University, 34 former students. If you can
zoom it in.
if you can zoom in a little bit, 34 former students of Yeshiva University are coming forward now. They're in federal court.
Yeah.
They're suing for hundreds of millions of dollars. Okay.
80 million.
I can't get it. Hundreds of millions of dollars. There's 34 former students who are suing in federal court right now for the abuses of Yeshiva University. Yeah. So if you come back to me, there are decades of abuse on Yeshiva University is my medical school.
That's right.
It's not just, the crimes in my case are not just harassment and stalking, but they got so serious in Jersey City that I was violently physically assaulted at Jersey City Medical Center. I'm lucky to be alive today, and so a lot of the issues came out in my landlord-tenant case. So I want to do the big overview.
Sure.
I'm a student at Yeshiva's medical school.
Got it.
Crime and corruption like you would not believe. They illegally expel me, and I tried to put together the pieces of my shattered life. I have to sue these people in court, and when I sue in federal district court, they fabricated rulings. They did terrible things they shouldn't have done. Other students are calling me, and we're discovering that we have common ground. So we tried to go forward as the Yeshiva Victims Group. Unfortunately, all the members of the Yeshiva Victims Group, which were former students of my medical school, were trying to work as a team. The poison in that group was Marlene Abramova and the Bulgarian Jewish community. And we'll get to some of those details. She ruined her case.
I see.
I go on, and I'm living in Jersey City, and I discover that Yeshiva University's medical school has falsified my educational records, my financial records. I have a legitimate purpose in contacting the school, but the school is persecuting me through life, and we're way past harassment. I'm the one who was harassed. I'm the one who was stalked. At Jersey City Medical Center, it was a violent physical assault that could have left me paralyzed or dead. So now we're talking about premeditated attempted murder and conspiracy to commit murder. And now they're scared to death and trying to weasel out. So you got Jersey City, Yeshiva University, leads to the crimes at Jersey City Medical Center. And then there's the malicious prosecution in New York.
I see.
And the malicious prosecution in New York was done by the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, acting in concert. This is an organized criminal conspiracy with my medical school to make a false record and put me in jail. And in order to execute their criminal scheme, they got Detective Cologne from the 34th Precinct to lie on the witness stand. So this is a federal crime. The Manhattan District Attorney's Office has suborned perjury. Okay, so we're not, and the reason my attorneys are giving me a hard time, they're fighting me tooth and nail. They don't want to argue ineffective assistance of counsel, even though that's what happened, and those are the facts. Because once you do that, when they argue ineffective assistance of counsel, and Jayson, listen up here, because your Sixth Amendment constitutional right to effective assistance of counsel, the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, this is how big this gets. The Manhattan District Attorney's Office wants to perpetrate the myth that they have absolute immunity. They do not when they violate my Sixth Amendment constitutional right and when they commit federal crimes like suborning perjury. Okay, so they would love to see me dead.
I see.
So now they illegally convict me, they illegally incarcerate me, and I'm at the mercy of the crooked doctors at Rikers Island. And those crooked doctors not only committed fraud, but they billed for it in Medicaid fraud. So this is fraud, waste, and abuse.
The taxpayers.
Yeah. So what we're happening, so it's not about each episode of stalking and harassment and abuse. It's that I'm being persecuted through life because I'm telling the truth about Yeshiva University.
That's right.
And this is not a school. This is an organized criminal entity. And most recently, Jayson, can you hold on to your hat here for a minute? Are you still with us?
I'm hanging here and I'm listening.
Okay. Most recently, and this is really good information.
Yeah.
Okay. Most recently, you go down to make your complaints about public corruption. An FBI agent was supposed to interview me 2 years ago. Okay, 2 years ago. You go down to 26 Federal Plaza. You put in your complaint. Your complaint goes to Sergeant Herrera, and then it's supposed to go to the duty agent. So there's something wrong because I'm consistently putting in my complaints and no one's talking to me. So I go to a satellite office.
Yeah.
The satellite office, and don't think I don't have video of all of this. Okay. The satellite office calls 26 Federal Plaza, and 26 Federal Plaza has no record of any complaints by Lydia Radin. So you're telling me that the FBI throws out your complaints?
It gets filed in the round file, folks.
Okay, that's really serious.
And that's beyond serious, because this is another bureaucratic institution that was not constitutionally there.
I'm sorry, say it again because you're getting a little garbled.
I say the FBI is one of those institutions that don't belong there because they're not constitutionally there. They were made by the feds to increase their power.
Well, the bottom line is, if you're a citizen and you got a police detective lying on the witness stand, and you got the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, this is Mr. Vance, Cyrus Vance Jr. Is prosecuting me, and the only way to get me in jail, to get me to shut up about Yeshiva University and decades of physical, sexual abuse, violating the civil rights of medical school students, all kinds of horrible, stealing money like any place they can. The only way to get me to shut up about it is to get Detective Cologne from the 34th Precinct, Washington Heights, this is to lie on the witness stand. And when you go down and you talk to the FBI, and they're supposed to protect the innocent life of people like me, they take your complaints and they throw them away?
Throw it away.
Are you kidding me?
They have no right to do that, and they need to be chopped up in the blender.
We need to indict them, Jayson. Indict them.
That shall be. That will be. That shall be as what that shall be coming.
Disbar ADA Alex Spiro and prosecute Detective Cologne. Now, if you were Detective Cologne and you had your buddies out there, how much would you like to see Lydia Radin dead?
Of course. Defeat your enemy. Make sure that the truth doesn't come out. The truth be told. How many people were Agent Orange victims, and they were going through veteran hospital, and they wouldn't recognize the state's abuse of its warriors?
So Jayson.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I go down to the Brooklyn District Attorney's Office, and I talk to Anthony Borowski, and he's got every excuse, and this is a paralegal at the Brooklyn District Attorney's Office, every excuse for a runaround, a whitewash, any way not to protect my life. It is unconscionable. So this is the danger that I'm living with every single day. And I want to show you the big picture here, because the big picture here speaks to the same kind of racism that ruled the Jim Crow South, only it's happening here in New York. So can you go to the big bird's eye view? Because this is the big bird's eye view. Okay. So what we got here is we've got wealthy donors, for example, Rita and Stanley Kaplan, who gave about $10,000 to the Democratic Party.
Sure.
Well, the Democratic Party in New York State would be District Attorney Robert Morgenthau.
Okay.
Robert Morgenthau was pandering to the Spanish vote, particularly in Washington Heights. That's why they didn't want me there. And he's taken Judge Sonia Sotomayor around because he's trying to present himself as a power broker. And she's supposed to be the vote getter for the Democratic Party. But Sonia Sotomayor is one of 36 federal judges who upheld fabricated rulings to hurt students in New York. And Ruth Bader Ginsburg is a Supreme Court justice. Her job is to oversee the Second Circuit Court of Appeals. Okay, Ruth Bader Ginsburg knows about this because I sent subpoenas in to the Supreme Court. Sonia Sotomayor knows about this. So Robert Morgenthau and District Attorney Vance are persecuting me because they don't want to lose the Spanish vote because they're owned and operated by the Democratic Party. That's owned and operated by wealthy donors. Those wealthy donors give money to Yeshiva University, and it's not just that Yeshiva University doesn't pay taxes, but those wealthy donors get a great big benefit. So when you're victimized by crimes committed by Yeshiva University, not only does the district attorney and law enforcement not help you, they persecute you. Okay, to the point of they want you dead. Okay, and we've got in New Jersey the Hudson County prosecutor Ed DeFazio since 2005, Congressman Cyrus, can you? Cyrus. Congressman Robert Menendez, who's now U.S. Senator. U.S. Senator Frank Lautenberg. Okay, so these are the members of the Democratic Party in New Jersey that will see you dead because all they're protecting is the money bags for the Democratic Party. They don't care about innocent lives. They don't care about enforcing the law. So this is the big picture. This is one of the organizing principles. Okay, so. If you come back to me for a minute.
Back we go.
Okay.
All right. There you go.
Do you get the big picture?
Yeah.
Okay. So right now, when I go to, the Brooklyn District Attorney's Office, when I go to the local police, they have no interest in protecting me. They will use any weapon they can to see me dead.
Right. And the whole point is that you always try to eliminate your enemy's speech. You look at any tyrannical country always tries to eliminate its opposition. And Mao did it in 1935 with killing 20 million of his countrymen.
So the only decent judge we have, I've burned my way through, God knows how many judges, this was the one decent judge that I found.
There you go.
This is
Gleason.
John Gleason, who really deserves to be on the Supreme Court. Who really is thoughtful, has judicial temperament. Even God knows the kinds of horrible things they said behind his back. Hope to God he stays in public service. So the one decent, I can't imagine how many corrupt judges, except for John Lansing,
of course,
and Michael.
Was it you?
Michael Chu.
In
landlord-tenant court. John Lansing was a supervising judge in landlord-tenant court, and his court clerk. But this is the one decent judge I found, and I'd like my case returned to him. But this is the one decent judge. If you zoom back a little bit. Okay, out of all the judges that I had to burn my way through.
Wow.
Okay, so when I go to the Brooklyn District Attorney's Office and when I go to the police, they don't want to protect my life. They want me dead. And one of the reasons they want me dead is because they're protecting Yeshiva University. And they're protecting the myth of they're protecting their money bags. And they're protecting the myth that the prosecutor has absolute immunity when he does not. So I'm going to try to make this as simple as possible. On just a few simple pages, I can show how I was denied effective assistance of counsel, maybe on like four or five pages.
That's good.
Okay, I was forced to go through criminal trial without these documents from my medical school that make my case. And what these documents show is that the school is falsifying internal educational records. They're falsifying reports to outside agencies. I went to trial without these documents because my attorneys sold me out. And then they tried to create the fiction that, there was all these documents. There was no obstruction of justice. They didn't refuse. The judge didn't criminally refuse to enforce the subpoena. We had all these documents, but we agreed only to go to trial in these edited, truncated, smaller version. I decided to go to trial without the very documents that make my case. And that's how we can get into these details. These are the documents from the LCME and the internal school documents that my attorneys refused to, well, we will in a second because we got 5 minutes left. And I don't want to get lost in the details, so I might just stay in big picture for a little bit. Okay, we can go through the details next week. this is ineffective assistance of counsel that violated my Sixth Amendment constitutional right. I did not agree. This is a lie. This is a lie that my attorneys told. That I did not agree to go to criminal trial without the very documents that made my case. And there's just a few of them.
Sure.
Okay? So the Manhattan District Attorney's Office wants to perpetrate this myth that they have absolute immunity. They do not. And the reason why my complaints to the, I'll let you jump in just a second, Jason. The reason my complaints to the FBI were thrown away is because the FBI wants to let the Manhattan District Attorney's Office get away with suborning perjury, get away with having a police detective lie on the witness stand. And these documents show that every witness lied on the witness stand. Every witness. This is a few pages, okay? I had and I continue to have a legitimate purpose in contacting my medical school and demanding that my records be provided to me and they be corrected. And there's a whole long list. I confronted the special prosecutions detective with, there's a whole long list of documents that I can make that were not provided. Judge Simpson was supposed to enforce that subpoena. She did not. That's a crime. And he thumbed his nose at me. He's like, yeah, and he taunted me, okay? So what we got here is the Jim Crow South. That's exactly, directly analogous to the Jim Crow South, only it's the Zionist racism, it's the Jewish racism that we're facing here in New York, okay?
All right.
So I don't want to get lost in too many of these details. I actually have, Jason, I've got about 3 minutes left and I can do 2 pages. Would you mind if I just showed the details in 2 pages? Hello?
Do what you got to do. It's your show. I mean, I'd like to be able to.
I'm going to show you right now. This is an internal school document, and it's dated February 5th, 2008. Wait, before you cut to it, anybody can go down to the criminal court and look at this for themselves, okay? I discovered this after I got out of Rikers, and I have to fight tooth and nail with my attorneys to act on this information. So we're going to go to February 5th, 2008. This is a document that's in the criminal courthouse right now. And this says right here, this is Lily Lombardi. This is dated February 5th, 1998. And it says Lydia Radin. You see how it was highlighted? Lydia Radin, that's why, has been withdrawn from the Albert Einstein College of Medicine. Keep scrolling, that's good. And then the bottom you can see Reichgott was a complaining witness against me. David was a complaining witness against me. Dr. J. David, that's James David. He's a dishonest psychiatrist who has been persecuting me for years. And Dr. J. Bennett, that's Janice Bennett. She's at Columbia University right now. This is the entire promotions committee. The whole school is in on this fraud. Go to the next document.
The next document.
It's a document 2.
I just have LCME.
Yeah, click on LCME.
Oh, yeah.
There we go. Now this is, I've scroll up a little bit. This is, oh no, actually scroll up a little bit. This is, keep going up. This is a report to the Liaison Committee on Medical Education. And that's me, Lydia Radin. I've redacted, I took out my social security number and my date of birth because, you know, I don't want to be victimized by identity fraud. But here's the school saying, and if you scroll down to the bottom, because we got 30 seconds left, so you got to scroll real fast, right? No, go up. February 5th, right there, February 5th, 1998, okay? The registrar, Lily Lombardi, is reporting, scroll up real fast, that I was dismissed for non-academic reasons. Not withdrawn, but dismissed. And next time we're going to go into details about how the school is lying.
All right.
Okay, so we're probably out now.
All right.
Yeah.
We're out.
Okay.
We're out.
All right.
Peace out.
Take it easy.
All right.